Welcome to today's episode of the Lions Roar podcast, where we celebrate the heart and history of Calvary Baptist Academy. I'm your host, Dr. David Warren, and I'm glad you're here to join us today. Today we have a very special conversation lined up. We're sitting down with two leaders who really helped shape the story of our school. We've got our former administrator and former elementary principal. They've poured years of their wisdom, love, and faith into our staff, students, and school. And so we're excited to hear their memories, some of the maybe challenges that they faced, and how they saw God work in powerful ways in our church and school. And perhaps we'll even uncover a few fun facts and a little bit of fun history on the way. So settle in as we walk down this little road of history with Michael Reece and Jeanie Reece, Mike and Jeanie, affectionately known as Pastor Mike and Jeanie Reece. Thanks for joining us. We're excited to have this conversation. And you meant a lot to Calvary Baptist Academy. First of all, just real simply, how many years did you serve at Calvary Baptist Academy?
I was there 30 years.
Okay.
You were there 45 years.
45 years. That's almost as long as I've been alive.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, we're looking at a lot of history here. So tell me a little bit, 45 years ago, you came to Calvary Baptist Academy. What were you doing before that? How did you get into Christian education? What brought you into Christian education? What did that look like in those early years? Because I know that you were doing Christian education before you came to Calvary.
Well, my dad was a Christian, and so he was teaching a Christian school, and right.
Well, he was pastor, and
he
helped start
He
one.
was a pastor.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that was my dad. And when I graduated, I thought, and somewhere around there, I got a girlfriend, and I ended up being a wife. But what I wanted to do, what we decided to do, is we thought we would go out and try to find that we could maybe go to some other church and to teach, or to a school.
Okay.
We thought both of us could work in a school. And so I could even, so anyway, we did that because of my dad. And
so your dad was in ministry and you wanted to do ministry.
Yeah.
Yes.
And wanted to try to do something you could both do together.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had taught prior to getting married.
Okay.
In fact, I taught at University, Bob Jones University.
Mike always says because you're much older.
A whole year older, yes, one whole year. But I was 2 years ahead of him in school because he went to a
So
Bible.
you got held back a little bit?
No, he went to a Bible school
Okay.
before he went to Central Michigan for 4 years. So
Okay, so you're a Chippewa.
yeah,
I was.
Yeah,
All right.
so, yeah. So I taught 1 year at Bob Jones Elementary School, and then his dad called. He was starting this school, helping some other pastors in the area in Muskegon, and hired me. So I went there
Okay.
and taught for a year.
So to put it into context, Jeanie,
Yeah.
you went to Bob Jones University. That's where you got your education degree, and then stayed there in Greenville, South Carolina, and taught for a year in the elementary school there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I really, back then, my dean of education really stressed Christian education, challenging us
Yeah.
to be sure that it was God calling us to the public school and not, he said, the almighty dollar, because obviously there was a difference. And I just felt that God wanted me in Christian education. So I came and taught then at his dad's school, if you will. Well, he wasn't just his
Where was
dad's.
that located?
In Muskegon.
Muskegon.
Fruitport area. His dad was in
Okay.
Muskegon, but the Fruitport area. And then after we got married, you even had looked at maybe the public school.
Sure.
But then we went on a trip, right? So because we were thinking, well, we need a school where we can both teach. And there was one in Virginia, a Christian school.
Okay.
And so we headed there. And what happened on the way there, honey? Do you remember?
Yes, we went to a number of Christian schools there.
We lined up all the way there and back.
Okay.
All the way
Lots of
there and back
interviews
to
to
find
kind of
out.
check out
Right,
different places.
right.
And every one of them asked us to come and stay.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. Some of
They
them
did.
put the contract right under our nose and said, sign now.
So kind of
except
similar
one.
to today where there's a need
Yes,
for
yes.
Christian educators. Sure.
So when we got home.
But that was the early days of the movement.
Yes,
quite
that
frankly.
it
Yeah.
was. And when we got back home, we thought everybody but one wanted us to come. And we talked and we said, how can we do anything but go into Christian education?
Yeah, the needs
So
was
that
big.
was, I think, our call when you say, honey, that God laid it on our heart then for Christian Ed.
We decided to do that,
Yeah.
yes.
So where did you end up? So you had all these offers. Which school and where did you end up?
Well, that's a little bit different because
Elkhart.
I was
Yeah.
then I was teaching
Yeah.
in a Christian school. And where was that?
Well, you were in Muskegon for just a short time because you were the phys ed teacher.
Okay.
Yes. But then we had somebody call us,
Okay.
and because I was in another school, a Christian school,
Sure.
and he called me into the office. My guy, he was in charge of the whole school.
Well, that's where we were going. That's
so
David.
we got in there.
So let's go backwards to go forward a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're teaching in Muskegon, and then how did we get from Muskegon to, I know, eventually Indiana,
Yes,
Elkhart, Indiana?
that's
Yes.
where we went next.
Yes.
After all that trip we took, we ended up in Elkhart, Indiana, at Elkhart Baptist Christian School
Okay.
with Jack Knapp, the
And
principal.
then I was teaching there, I think, for about 2 years. And so he called me into his office one day, and he said to me, he closed the door, and he said, I want you to know, he said that he was leaving, he and his wife. And they were wonderful. And I loved it. I thought we'd be there all of our life. And then he said, and you need to go. And so I thought, wow, what did I do wrong, And he's nothing. He says, but there's this place up north. And it was in Muskegon.
Midland, honey.
Midland.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And what he had told me was that he'd already gone there. They had called him and they wanted to get him. And he says, no, I didn't want to be here in Michigan.
Well, he was from Michigan.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
he just didn't feel the Lord was calling him
Okay.
back to Michigan. But he thought the Lord was calling us here.
So I was
Felt like
out-
it was a good fit for maybe for you and,
Yeah.
and your wife at that time.
and he had been a coach and a Bible teacher down in
Yeah.
Indiana, but for some reason, Mr. Knapp thought he would be a good administrator.
So you went from 1 year in Muskegon to a couple of years at Elkhart, Indiana, and then the guy says, I'm leaving and you should go to Midland, Michigan and check out the school up there.
Yeah.
So you came to Midland, Michigan, and that was after 45 years. So that's been, almost 50 years ago now.
Oh, right. Well, he was in education, Christian education
Yeah.
for 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you came to Midland, tell me a little bit about what you stepped into. So what did the school look like? So how long had the school been in existence? Just a few years?
Just 5 years.
5 years in existence. So the school was 5 years old. So this would have been about 1979?
78.
78, okay. So what was Calvary Baptist Academy like in 1978 when Mike and Jeanie Reece moved to Midland and became part of it?
Well, it was first the other church
Well, it
So
was
Cherry Street?
Cherry Street.
Yes.
Yeah, we
So
were
Cherry
on
Street
Cherry Street.
for 2 years.
So the building's still over there. So he wants to
Yes.
drive by and go down memory lane.
Yes.
And the school functioned, I understand, in the basement of
Yes.
Cherry
Yes.
Street.
That's where it was.
And so how many classrooms were in the basement of the Cherry Street building?
Well, it was basically one because it was an ACE school.
Okay.
Yes.
So ACE school, for people that don't know, an ACE school was where students went at their own pace. They had little lesson booklets that they would work through, and the teacher would move between students as needed. So you might have third graders and sixth graders and 10th graders and all the different grades working through their own curriculum. Kind of self-paced, not as much of a teacher-taught lesson
Oh, right.
for the most part. And so I actually went to an ACE school through second grade, so I'm familiar with what that was like in the church there had an ACE school. And so what was one of the first things you come into this ACE school that you said, it's got to change?
I went to the pastor. He's now in heaven. And but
That's
he,
Pastor Dickerson, Mark Sr.
Senior,
Yes.
yes.
So Pastor Dan's father,
Yes.
our current Pastor Dan, senior pastor, and Pastor Mark, his grandfather.
Yes.
So, okay.
Right.
And so, in any case, I went and asked him. I said, "Could we change this?" So, a regular school,
Traditional.
and they only had 2 people teaching out there, and I don't know if they had 30 kids or 50
Okay.
kids.
So you said, let's move from this one-room schoolhouse to actually have grade-level classes.
And this
We
was
did.
in June. We got here in June,
Okay.
and he's talking about for the fall.
Okay.
So we ended up, we had to go hire some teachers.
Well, where'd you put them if you only had one big room?
Well, we used upstairs.
Yeah.
We started using
using the space in the building.
Kindergarten and first grade were upstairs because they did have regular teachers.
Okay.
It was just second grade through the high school that was the ACE.
Okay.
But my wife ought to tell you where I was when I was teaching there, when I was the boss there.
Yeah.
So your office was
under the stairwell.
Okay. All right.
And because the one secretary kept telling him to go find his office, and he came back and he finally said it was Elda Phillips, who's now in heaven. And he said, Elda, I can't find it. So she led him down there and opened the door, and there were stacks of chairs in there and a telephone on a desk.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how long did the school stay at Cherry Street before it became obvious that the school couldn't function in that building and they needed to move elsewhere and figure out some other housing arrangements?
We came in 78, and so what year did we move out to?
We were there for a year, maybe 2 years.
Wasn't it 81 when you actually moved into Perrin Road?
I think the Cornerstone says 1981. I think that's right around then, early 80s. So not very long. No. And what I think is amazing about that, and you were part of it, is that the church wanted to have a school, and we're going to have a conversation here in the near future with Bob Coster, one of the men that started the school. But because they had some kids, they wanted to have a Christian school, so they started in the basement of the church. And 5 years in, you guys come along and change it from that one-room school ACE model to a more traditional school. But the church was committed to the project and to the mission of having a Christian school, to the point that they said, we're going to build the facility out on Perrin Road, right, on Perrin and Wackerly there. But we're going to do that, and we're going to build the school in the gymnasium first, not the church first, because that's what they were committed to at the time. And so how exciting was that to be a part of? And, I've seen the pictures, but what did that look like for you as far as, you think of administrative tasks that an administrator does in a school, but now you were in some ways working on a building project and planning what classrooms will look like and all that. Tell me a little bit about that project.
Well, we kind of knew they kind of knew what they wanted to get.
Okay.
But they wanted, like, the gym. They were going to get a gym, but it was like a little baby kid thing, A
multi-purpose room is what they'd planned.
Yeah.
And so I went back to the other coach that I had before, and I got all of his stuff from their church, and it was not church, the building.
Well, the school building. Yeah.
And so he had done all that, and so he gave me all of that, and so that way we could do that. And
they have a full-size gym.
We had a full-size gym, and now we're still using that.
Yeah, it's still being used, and that was very strategic and visionary.
But didn't they ask you to get all of the work teams together when he was?
How old was I?
Well, maybe 31.
And so I was in charge of building that whole building.
Okay.
And there was 2 other men that helped us, and all kinds of people in the church would come on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And sometimes would come during the days, and I was in charge for building a building. And I was 20 or 30 years old, and I didn't know much about that.
You had to get all the work crews.
But I got all the works going, and I did that, and the Lord built it, and I got a place where I could sit when it was done.
You got an office, a real office.
Yes.
So as you went through that project and that transition from Cherry Street to, the campus there at Perrin Road, were there any times you would say that you look back and were there any milestones, not just what had happened, but some way that you saw God work very special or specifically, and you say, clearly this was God's hand of blessing in the midst of I'm sure there's 100 of those kinds of things, but is there any that kind of stick out to you in those moments, particularly in that transition and building the school and see God work?
I can answer. Did you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
Well, I think everything, you go to the building now, and everything, it wasn't me. They put me in charge of the whole thing. There was that first one. And then after
first wing where the elementary is currently,
then there was another one.
Yeah, where the preschool is kind of taken over now.
Yes.
Yeah, and then later on, I went to the board and I said a church, and I said, "What if we start teaching little boys and girls?" And they told me no. And so a month later, I went to the pastor again, and I talked to him again. And so we came back, and they said, okay, yes. And we got that. And then we got other things.
Yeah, the preschool is just, so the school is, over 50 years old, but the preschool about 27 years ago, roughly, give or take, started. So, and now the preschool is thriving, and we've got 300 plus, 3, 4, and 5 year olds in there.
Yes.
And so, that was something that you had a vision for, and that God has definitely used to bring people to Christ, and boys and girls that otherwise wouldn't hear of Christ. And we were just talking today in our meeting, actually, and we have even several staff members who are now serving in the school that came to Christ because they had kids in the preschool, came to Christ, and now they're part of the team there.
Amen.
And so that's you, like you said, none of us does it. God does it.
Right.
Yeah.
But you played a big part in that, and the fruit of that labor.
To me, going back to our church, they had such a heart for Christian education that they would give up their sanctuary for 15 to 17 years. I can't remember the exact number of years. To me, that was a God moment, that they would be willing to invest in children's lives and young people because they wanted them to come to know Christ. And I was saying to Mike, we have so many young people who grew up in that gym for church who are now serving God full time. And I know we should all be serving God full time, but I'm thinking pastors, Christian school teachers, missionaries. And so not having a church building didn't deter God from working. And to me, that was a God moment that our people would be willing to do that.
Yeah, I started in Calvary, coming in my 9th grade year, as far as the church, Calvary Baptist Church. Then I came to the academy in 10th grade. But I met in the gym with the carpet, and I was on the crew to set up the gym for church on Sundays and tear it down and set up classrooms and clean bathrooms. And I count that a privilege looking back and remembering the history there and all the sacrifice, even week to week, that the church made and the church continues to make. The church is invested to have the school. I try to remind our families and such that, our tuition we know is not cheap. So when I use those words, that tuition is as low as it is in large part because the church has provided the facilities, the maintenance of those facilities. By and large, the church covers a lot of those costs, and those are costs the school doesn't have to bear. And so the church has been a blessing in their sacrifice in order to have a Christian school. I talked to other friends at other churches that don't have Christian schools, and most of them aren't too interested in starting one because they know the work that it takes, the maintenance, the even scheduling and all of those things. So, it is unique when a church has invested itself to have a Christian school and sees a vision for that. And you guys were a huge part of that. What would you say are some of your favorite memories, some highlights, whether it's fun things or the way God worked? That's that easy open-ended question because I'm sure in 45 years of working in Christian education that there's probably lots of stories and highlights. I'm going to tell you one of my favorite ones about you after you share yours. So
about us?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Well, I'll tell you what. When Jeanie and I were in this church, in this school, because I was in charge of the school.
Yep.
She was in the school as well. We had to get all the staff. But our goal was to get boys and girls to know Jesus Christ as their Savior. And that was our goal. And matter of fact, one of our guys that was working there for us for years, he now is in heaven. But one of the things that he did for me is I wanted him to tell us.
Dan Forbes?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Our history teacher.
Yes, and our goal was I would like to find in my lifetime in there, I'd like to see at least 100 kids know Jesus Christ and go out and serve the Lord somewhere.
Sure.
Full time. You were
full-time Christian service.
Yeah. Right.
And so before he died, he came and gave to me, and it was 120 some kids or something.
Yeah, that he had been able to track.
And they're serving the Lord someplace around the world.
Yeah.
And so that's our school.
Yeah.
And now, is that me? No, at all. God gave me ideas and suggestions,
Sure.
but now I live across the street and I'm just looking at that place saying, look what God has done.
Yep.
That's the thing. It's
praise the Lord.
not me, but praise the Lord that He let me do some of that stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that's neat. I do know that, we don't track it specifically as much, but I know that we continue to have, year after year, different students that go into full-time Christian service, and even those that aren't in full-time Christian service, but are serving the Lord in their churches and serving as Sunday school teachers and deacons and raising their families to know and love Christ. And so, that's all we get to be a part of that.
Right.
It's the churches that they come from. It's their parents and their families pouring into them, grandparents. Ultimately, God does it, but we get to be a small part in all of those kids' lives. So how about you, Jeanie? What are some highlights?
Well, I would think I got to kind of go along even before I was working because of who my husband was, obviously, on choir drama tour and senior trips. And those were some highlights for me.
We still have choir drama tour. We still do it today.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. That's one of the things you guys kind of started along with. I know there was, I think Gloria Everson, was she part of the early days? Or
Well, there was
Not
even
at the
before.
Diane Dickerson.
Paula Miller was the
Paula
first.
Miller,
Was the
okay.
first person that we went just on choir tour first.
Okay.
And then along came Diane Dickerson. We added the drama.
Yep.
And then Gloria joined as the music teacher or the choir teacher.
Yeah.
But to us, we think back, how we could see our kids praying with other kids, leading them to the Lord, or praying with them about decisions that they wanted to make spiritually. But then we would come home and often do a chapel for the kids the elementary students and so forth, and junior high kids that didn't get to go. And I remember some of our own students accepting Christ on choir drama tour. And then we had great times on senior trip with the kids. But the majority of the time, there were a couple of classes that we might have liked to skip. Talk to your mom; she'd go with us.
Sure. Yeah, no, lots of those. In the homecomings and spirit weeks, some of those traditions that you started. Some I know you steal from other places, but then you make it your own. And there's things we still do. There's been changes, but there's a lot of the core. Choir drama tours looks a little bit different, but the core of it's the same. Spirit week and homecoming. There's, of course, tweaks here and there, but the core of it's what you guys started. And so lots of those things that you built. I remember going on choir drama tour. I remember the first time I went on choir drama tour was the first time I'd ever passed out a tract or, did something of spiritual nature like that for sure. Really the Lord used choir drama tour quite a bit in my life to focus me in the right direction. But I also remember Pastor Mike was my Bible teacher in my senior year. And so a lot of memories there. And Pastor Mike, you married my wife and I. So, you say sometimes teasingly, I don't think you liked me very much or whatever. But, we got along all right if you were going to, do our wedding. And
that's what I told him.
Yeah. So, we worked alongside each other for a long time. But I remember our senior prank, my senior year. Do you remember our senior prank?
Are you the one that put the desk in the chair?
No, ours had to do with your car. You had I think it was a station wagon at the time.
Okay, yes.
And you still do. You have the keys hanging there by the door.
By the back door?
By the front door. You had the keys hanging for a while there. They sat by the front door.
Oh, dear.
But
They don't sit there anymore.
We took the keys and we put the car in neutral and we pushed it over to now you remember?
Now I remember.
We pushed it over in front of the where the entrance is to the gymnasium entrance in the front of the school there. And we took the wheels off and put your car up on blocks and filled it with balloons.
I forgot.
And I thought it was a pretty good prank.
Yeah.
And I remember that. And we put up the tires back on for you, and we were nice about it.
Did you get in trouble?
No, you were good natured about it, laughed. What else are you gonna do, right? I've been there as principal and now head of school. You can't do anything but laugh sometimes. Sometimes you cry privately, but but yeah, no, I we enjoyed that prank. So
okay.
You didn't even notice we
didn't hold him
I'm
against.
going to get somebody and do that to his car.
Yeah.
His new car.
So if you could go back to school and step back into the hallways, What do you think you miss the most about being in the school day and the school calendar and all of those things? I know that, it's a big change to go from September to May with all the school activities and whatnot to where you're seeing it across the street, but you're not in the middle of it. So what do you miss the most?
What? Oh, I hadn't thought, but just now, when that Thursday night, when meet the teacher night, back to school, and all the families come, and you get to see the children after you've been gone for the summer, and you see how they've grown. I hadn't thought about that till just now. That I think the energy. I miss that excitement, and I remember the first
homework assignment hasn't been assigned, so nobody's grumpy yet.
Right, everybody's happy. But the first meet the teacher night would have been 3 years ago since I retired. And some people that had been in China, the Brewbakers.
Yeah.
They were back, and
she now teaches for us at West Campus in biology and such. Yeah.
Well, they stopped over to the house afterwards, and they had discussed whether or not Jeanie Reece would be there that night. And I think it was.
Could she stay away? Was the idea, right?
And I thought, I think it was Doug Brubaker who thought I'd be there, and Tracy said, no. Not with the new principal and it being her son, and she won't be there. But they came over to visit afterwards, and that made it special that they still included me that night. So, I miss that. But I miss the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can make me cry. I miss the kids.
How about you, Mike? What would you say you missed the most about the energy of a school year?
I loved what I was doing, and I still love it. And I'm right across the street.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind it if they said, hey, would you like to help and do this or help and do that? And so I would do that. I would do anything. I still love the church. But I should start with the school, because everything has grown up. And so what were you going to say?
What do you miss, though? Would it be, if we've talked about different things, interacting with the administrators, or was it going back to school and we would have the beginning of the school year meeting with all the teachers? I think you had told me when they come back, and kind of encouraging them. Was that something that you would? I
could do that.
Yeah, you miss doing that.
I miss that, but yeah, I really do. And
just the routine of being around, watching people pour into the kids and seeing that energy is. I can imagine it's a big shift.
It's still going on. It's still going on in there, and I love to be in there, but I kind of stay out of it because, people are working.
We're retired.
So that kind of leads me to that one, kind of a closing thought a little bit, in a sense. What advice would you give to those that are still doing it? You said it's still going on, and praise the Lord, right? Mm-hmm. None of us. It's not about any one of us. We pass that baton, and there's new teachers every year as some move on for different reasons and new ones come in. And as the school has gone through generation after generation, what would you tell like the next group of educators and the people that are there now that are currently doing it? What kind of maybe advice or word of wisdom or encouragement would you give to our current staff at Calvary Baptist Academy?
Go ahead, put yours part.
I think we both would just encourage them to keep challenging children and young people, but I specifically worked with children, to know and love Jesus. If you can get the kids to have a heart for Jesus. I remember second graders who said they wanted to be missionaries because of people we had into chapel. So keep bringing in people to encourage them.
Yeah.
And some of those second graders are missionaries today.
It sounds like keep the main thing the main thing, right?
Right.
There's so much that goes into education, and there's lots of needs, whether it's reading and math and curriculum and field trips and activities and fine arts and all this stuff. And it's all important, but don't forget the main thing. Right. Why are we here? We're here to point boys and girls to Jesus Christ and to train them to serve Him.
I love chapel and being able to talk to the children about the Lord. And I think that's what I'd say. Don't ever take chapel away.
Yeah.
Keep that.
I think it's pretty safe at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
Mike, what about you? What would you encourage the current crop of Christian educators with in this moment?
I think exactly what she said. I mean, look at all the teachers you've had to get this year, and a lot of them are new, and I've talked to a bunch of them, but what a blessing it is to have Christians like that. But I will just tell you, like she said, why are we here? What is this about? What are the new teachers are doing? What are you doing? I kind of sneak in once in a while, and I'll go watch them in the back when they're teaching all the little boys and girls in church, not in church,
chapel.
in chapel time. And I don't stay the whole time, but I just like to do that. But I'm seeing whoever's talking, the teacher or whatever. But I mean, they're teaching people about Jesus Christ, and a lot of them are accepting Christ.
Sure.
And so that's my whole thing about it, you know.
Yeah.
And I just think it's great. And I wanted to say one more thing.
Yeah.
You're one of them.
Uh-oh.
But there's 4 men right now.
Sure.
And I believe all 4 of those men have been in our school when they were younger. And now they're running our school and or our church.
Oh.
And when I go to church, I'm seeing these 4 men. And I'm not up there anymore. Yeah. You're one of them. There's 3 other ones or so. And then we have another pastor.
Sure.
But I'm saying they all came from where? Calvary Baptist Academy.
Yeah, praise the Lord.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
What a blessing. And it's still going on.
For sure.
I know you know that. So I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. It's encouraging, and it's encouraging to see God continue to use our graduates all over the world, but it is exciting when they do come back.
Amen.
And so we have teachers that are in our school and staff that are in our school, and then parents that have put their kids back in the academy, and now we're starting to have grandparents that have grandkids that those grandparents went to Calvary Baptist Academy. Now their grandkids are coming through the school. And so God's really blessed us in that way.
I remember when I met, she was new 4th grade teacher last year.
Yeah.
And I was talking with her at an ice cream gathering after a Sunday night church service. And she
Miss
said,
Hunt.
Well, no, that 4th grade. It was
4th grade. That's 2nd grade. Steinbeck. Stacy, yep.
Yes. And she was saying, I'm just amazed at how many graduates of this school are coming back here to serve the Lord. She says, that's unheard of. She said that says something about the ministry.
Sure.
So that's a praise.
I'm sure it's because we pay so well, these huge paychecks.
I don't think that's what she said.
No? Okay.
But I think you tried to do a good job of that.
No,
but something else that you were asking what we would advise
the
leadership or the teachers. And something that I appreciated that Mike always said is have a sweet reasonableness. And I think that is so necessary as much as possible. I mean, sometimes you have to say no. But he would say to me, Jeanie, try and say yes when your teachers come to you as much as you can, or parents or students. But say no when it's needed, and stand firm when you need to say no. But I appreciated that about him because I worked for him. Not only am I his wife, but he was my boss for 30 years at school. And he would remind us, and I think you would remember that working with him. To have and so I'd say that to the teachers, the staff, to the administrators, keep a sweet reasonableness.
Amen.
Well, thank you both. It's really been an incredible conversation. Kind of walk down a little bit memory lane and remember really God's goodness.
Yes.
You know, God has been good to Calvary Baptist Academy. We're thankful for your leadership and for your investment. And I'm a product of that. And there's so many others. And the school is where it is today because of your investment. And so it's been a blessing to be reminded of your faithful leadership. And so thank you for joining us and for being willing to do this. And we're grateful for your years of service. And so I trust that it's encouraging for you as you live across the street to watch it continue to go on and to see your son is a part of it, your daughter's a part of it, your grandkids are now in the school.
Yes,
and so,
10 of them out of 14.
Yeah, and so we know that you are invested, and we're thankful for that. And so we thank you also for watching and listening. Maybe you're a graduate of Calvary Baptist Academy, and you're a part of the history of the school, or maybe you're a new family, and you have just started with children that are beginning to attend the school, and this is new information to you to learn a little bit about the history. But either way, we're glad that you're here and that you're part of the school. And we would ask you if you would. We've put it out there several times, but tell us your story. How did you come to Calvary Baptist Academy? What has the Lord used the school in your life to be a blessing? And we like to hear those stories. So if you would, take the time to fill out that form. It's been sent in the email. It's been posted on social media, and we'll continue to put that out. But we ask that you would consider letting us know how God has used the Calvary Baptist Academy in your life to be a blessing. And so thanks again, Mike and Jeanie. Thank you for listening. This has been another episode of the Lions Roar podcast. Remember, subscribe and make sure that you're getting the recent episodes and you know when they release by clicking that subscribe button, and even share it with others. Let them know that it's here in case they've missed it. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Lions Roar podcast.